fire ignites passion and creativity. Free your imagination with the slim, sleek, and beautiful new Huawei P8.
Each year, Deloitte does a technology, media, and telecoms prediction for what they're going to see in the year ahead. And this was the 14th annual TMT. And in studio to chat to me about their predictions for the year ahead are the industry leaders for Deloitte in the sector, Mark Casey and Arun Babu. Gentlemen, welcome to Techbusters. Well, of course, Mark, the biggest thing that everybody's looking at is this Internet of Things, right? And you've got a number of how many of those we're going to have in the near future.
No, we do, Toby, and also some views that are a bit contrarian to general market sentiment. So, first thing is we're going to see in this year 1 billion connected devices shipped, which takes the base around the world up to about 3 billion or thereabouts. So it is a big number. It's definitely a significant shift. However, and here's the thing, with connected devices, it really is, a piece of technology that you're wrapping around some connectivity. So instead of it being a product, it's now a service.
Yes.
Because it's depending on data transmission, which effectively has more to do with the data plans from the mobile and the fixed line providers. That's really important because effectively what we're saying is most of the revenue going to be generated at IoT is more in the enterprise space than in the consumer space.
Exactly.
It's more about the mobile and fixed line players. It's more about the technology to analyze this data. Some of our views are that big data is not necessarily the big thing it should have been because the insights actually aren't being extracted out of that data properly. So more money I think is going to be spent on that analysis and insight so that manufacturers are
So you're alleging big data is as boring as small data.
Yeah. It's that's only the input. The output is really where the magic happens.
Yes. And there's going to be some other developments in two other nascent technologies, Arun, isn't it? The drones are going to become much more high profile, you predict, and niche. And 3D printing is going to become more than just a revolution.
I agree, Toby. In terms of drones, there's going to be 1 million drones in usage by end of this year, according to our predictions. And we're seeing lots of very interesting niche use cases. So you're seeing in farming, surveillance, in security controls. South Africa recently developed a crowd control drone, which was the world first, hopefully never gets to be used anytime soon. And these sort of niche use cases are coming across from different parts of the world. And from a 3D printing perspective, what we're saying is that initially the prediction was that there's going to be multitude of almost production engines in each homes being created. That hasn't happened. The use case is still primarily from an enterprise perspective in manufacturing, prototyping. So our prediction is that there's going to be 200,000 plus units sold across the world this year, but bulk of the value is going to be for the enterprise segment.
So Mark, another prediction of yours is around short form video, and that people are, watching more and more of YouTube, aren't they?
Well, they are, but it only represents 3% of global viewing. Just so people understand, short form, anything under 20 minutes, and clearly long form beyond that. Global revenues in TV consumption are now about $400 billion versus a very small 5 billion around short form. The problem is around measurement, you see, and out of video consumption comes two things: subscription revenues and advertising. Advertising is really difficult to get right in a system that's not properly measured, which is typically the case with short form. And with a $200 billion advertising spend, you got to get measurement right. So short form is popular, it gets a lot of media attention. You have to look at things like the Gangnam Style video, which
amazing
hit 2.7 billion clicks, and then suddenly the counter almost fell over on YouTube. But when you look at the combined number of hours of viewing associated with that, it pales into insignificance compared to some of the most popular global TV shows and series. So it's going to be important. It's complementary to maybe typical linear broadcasting, but it's certainly not going to take over.
Another exciting, interesting development, Arun, is around the battery life of smartphones, which are going to be the devices that we sell. And one of your predictions, your final predictions, is that we're going to have 1 billion smartphone upgrades this year for the first time, 1 billion upgrades.
To put that into context, I think 1 billion smartphone upgrades is equal to the combination of TVs, video games, and all the electronic devices that's associated with it. That's the first time that we've passed the 1 billion mark in terms of an upgrade of a smartphone. A few years ago, we were talking about the smartphone upgrades having to taper off. due to the fact that what would be the difference between one version of a smartphone and the next that comes out a year later. That hasn't happened. People tend to go from very similar featured phones to a newer version across the world, and that's both the bottom edge as well as the high end of the market.